If you don't need to write, then you can just film.
You said you want to
Keep it.
you want to we don't mind it.
It doesn't matter either way. If you want to have this, sorry about the seating arrangements. Making this machine.
Move that next one. Okay.
Okay, shall we start? Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, sallallahu wa sallam ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man ihtada bi hudah, amma ba'd. This book, since there are some new faces here today, this book known as Al-Arba'in, the 40. How many ahadith does it contain? Not 40. 42 chapters and 43 ahadith. Yeah? 42 chapters, 43 ahadith. Yeah, but it's rounded to 40. It's roughly 40 ahadith, and so it's referred to as the 40. And the author is Nawawi rahimahullah. Yeah, from which country? Yeah, okay, Dimashq. Yeah, Syria. And in the past, a huge number of the scholars came from Syria. And that area, Sham, whether it's today Palestine or Syria and so on, huge number of scholars came from that area, from all the different madhahib, especially the Hanbali, Shafi'i and Hanafi madhab. They came from those areas. And Nawawi rahimahullah was a Shafi'i in fiqh, and he was a scholar of fiqh and hadith. So he compiled this book and said, I've collected 40 hadith that are principles in the Sharia, principles of Islam. And there are a lot of statements by the scholars, and they say, a quarter of the religion is this hadith, and a quarter is this hadith, and a quarter is this hadith. And Abu Dawud rahimahullah, the Sijistani, from the scholars of hadith, from the six books of hadith, he's one of the authors. He says, I looked at the Musnad of Ahmad, and it contained 40,000 hadith. 40,000 hadith. And he said, 4 of them are a summary of all of those 40,000. And from those 4 are, or this 40 contains those 4. Other scholars say the religion is made up of 5 ahadith. All of them are here. Okay, altogether, all of these ahadith are considered foundations of the religion. The first is the hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. And we said intention is of 2 types. Quick summary and then we'll continue again. Actions, intention, we have to revise this, by the way. We have to revise this. Constantly go through it and over it. Otherwise there's no good whatsoever learning it and then forgetting it. Actions are 2. There's sincerity and there's intention to do the action. Both are contained in the hadith. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Actions are only valid if the intention is valid. وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. And you're only rewarded with intention, with sincerity. So intention is of 2 types. Sincerity and validity. Yeah, sincerity and validity. Someone walks around the Kaaba 7 times, looking for his wallet. Okay, does that count as tawaf? No, because there's no intention. He didn't intend reward, so there's no reward. And he didn't intend tawaf, so there's no tawaf. Yeah. Someone paid zakat, okay, but intentionally did it in front of people so that they can see what he's doing. Okay, they can consider him generous or whatever else. Did he intend zakat? Yes, he intended zakat, so the zakat is valid. Did he intend sincerity, reward? No reward intended, so no reward. Simple as that. Yeah, you get what you intend. You intended Allah's reward, Allah will give you His reward. You intended that action, the zakat or sadaqah, or salah, you'll get that action. You won't have to repeat zakat. We won't say to you, you were insincere, therefore repeat your zakat. No. Because you intended zakat, so you got that. The validity of the action is right. But there's no reward for you, because you didn't intend reward. The hadith of Ibn Umar, the second hadith of Umar was the long hadith of, what's it known as the hadith of? Jibreel, known as the hadith of Jibreel. When Jibreel came to him in the form of a man, asked him about Islam and Iman and Ihsan. Okay, Islam is your outer actions. When these words can be used interchangeably. Remember we said Islam and Iman can be used interchangeably. Sometimes Iman refers to the whole religion. Islam refers to the whole religion. Okay. But the religion of Islam generally, the whole religion of Islam is three sort of stages. Islam, which is the outer actions. Iman, which is your inner actions, the actions of your heart, beliefs. And Ihsan, which is the perfection of both of those. The perfection of the inner and the perfection of the outer. So Ihsan includes both. Iman includes the inner, and Islam refers to the outer actions. Look at the 5 pillars of Islam: Salah, Zakat, Hajj, outer actions. Yeah, even the Shahada, it's an outer action because you're testifying, you're saying it. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Yeah, that's one of the pillars that you say it and testify it. As for Iman, pillars of Iman are all inner beliefs. You don't have to say anything or do anything. If you don't say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, then you still have that belief in Allah can still be there, but you're missing the pillar of Islam, so you still need to, of course, testify. Yeah, and then Ihsan is the perfection of Islam and perfection of Iman. Are we clear on that? So it's 3 stages. Islam is the lowest because it's just the outer actions. Then on top of that is Iman, and then the perfection of that is Ihsan. Ihsan is the highest level. The hadith of Ibn Umar, Islam is built upon 5, that was clear. The hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, is the hadith of a person is created in the mother's womb, 40 days, a nutfa, then alaqa, then a mudgha, and so on. And he talks about sending an angel who writes 4 things. What are the 4 things?
Rizq.
Naam, bikatbi rizqihi, what he will earn. What was the key point we mentioned here last lesson? If you're going to earn the same amount anyway, no one's going to earn more than what's written, and no one's going to earn less than what's written. Does it make sense to seek your wealth in a haram way? No, because there's £1 million written for you. £1 million is written for you. You're not going to get a penny more. You might as well wait for it to come in a halal way, because it's going to come to you anyway. Then to put effort into getting it in a haram way, and Allah won't put barakah in it, and it will be a cause of regret for you in this life and the next. بِكَتْبِ رِزْقِهِ وَأَجَلِهِ, when they live to, وَعَمَلِهِ, their actions, وَالشَّقِيٌّ أَوْ سَعِيدٌ, and are they happy or distressed. The hadith of Aisha, مَنْ عَمِلَ عَمَلًا لَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ أَمْرُنَا فَهُوَ رَدٌّ, whoever does an action that's not from these affairs of ours, then it's rejected. Okay. The hadith of Umar, the first hadith, talks about the inner actions, the intention. The hadith of Aisha talks about the outer actions. And these are the 2 conditions for anything to be valid. Okay? Any action to be valid, 2 conditions. Hadith of Umar and the hadith of Aisha. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, your intention has to be valid, and the outer action has to be valid as well. Yeah? You don't say, I'm going to, for example, scream in the middle of the road. And this isn't my act of worship, my way of doing act of worship. And you go, scream, 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 scream. And I'm doing this sincerely. Okay, maybe. If you are genuinely doing this sincerely, I doubt it. Okay, because no one would do such an odd thing if they were genuinely sincere. But let's assume that you are sincere. You've fulfilled the first condition, but you haven't fulfilled the second. Yeah, you haven't fulfilled the second. And if someone is adamant on not fulfilling the second condition, it shows there's a lack of the first condition. If you're adamant, no, I want to do things this way, I want to do things this way, then generally that proves that the sincerity is probably questionable. Because otherwise you'd be happy, if you're doing this for Allah, you do it the way Allah wants it to be done. Okay. Hadith of, the hadith number 6 is the hadith of An-Nu'man ibn Bashir. Inna al-halala bayyin wa inna al-harama bayyin. Okay, the halal is clear and the haram is clear. And we said, and between them are doubtful matters. And the point of the hadith is to avoid doubtful matters. Okay. And doubtful matters are what? Some scholars say it's those things that are disliked. And some scholars say it's those things that the scholars disagree on. Okay, scholars disagree on. And we'll come to a hadith later, hadith number 27, which will say, الإثم ما حاك في نفسك وكرهت أن يطلع عليه الناس. Sin is that which you feel hesitant with in your heart. Yeah? And so if you're a person of Iman, if we should all know ourselves. Yeah, I would never want to do something intentionally that opposes what Allah wants us to do. But I am genuinely comfortable with this. And I don't believe this is against the religion. And there are many scholars who say this. Yes, there are some scholars who say this is not allowed, but I am confident that the scholars I've asked say it's halal, so you go ahead with it. Okay, as an example. On the other hand, you're constantly hesitant about something. Okay, you heard someone say it's halal, it's allowed, but there's this thing in your heart about it. You don't quite feel right about it. That's what you avoid. Okay. Hadith number 7 is ad-dinu nasiha. Okay, the religion is sincerity to Allah and His Messenger and His books and the Imams and the people. Hadith number 8 is the hadith of Ibn Umar, أمرت أن أقاتل الناس حتى يشهدوا أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة فإذا فعلوا ذلك عصموا مني دماءهم وأموالهم إلا بحق الإسلام وحسابهم على الله. Okay, so I've been ordered to fight the people until they bear witness, until they testify that there is nobody worthy of worship except Allah. And this kind of fighting refers to both physical fighting and refers to intellectual battle. And the chapter of battle and fighting has conditions in it. Okay, it's not a case if you fight, you just go out and fight. Whoever doesn't say there's la ilaha illallah. Because in an Islamic state, there are non-Muslims living safely, peacefully. And in the narration, مَنْ قَتَلَ مُعَاهِدًا قَتَلْنَاهِ. Whoever kills a person who is under the protection of the Muslims, we will kill that person. Okay, which means that it's not a case of just fight whoever it gets in your way. There are conditions explained in detail in the books of fiqh. But the point is the Prophet ﷺ was sent to spread the message of Islam around the whole world, to everyone. Okay, to everyone. And this hadith, the main message of this hadith is the prohibition of the wealth of a Muslim and the blood of a Muslim. لا يحل دم امرئ مسلم إلا بإحدى ثلاث. We'll come on to that later. Yes. The 9th hadith is the hadith of Abu Hurairah. Whatever I prohibit you from doing, then avoid it. That hadith is clear. We don't need to go over it again. And hadith number 10 is the hadith of Abu Hurairah again. إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى طَيِّبٌ لَا يَقْبَلُ إِلَّا طَيِّبًا. Allah is pure and only accepts the pure. Only accepts pure sadaqah, and only accepts pure actions, and only accepts pure words, and so on. Yeah. Hadith number 11 عن أبي محمد الحسن بن علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله عنه قال حفظت من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم دع ما يريبك إلى ما لا يريبك. Okay. Who can read the English? Yes, read it for us. If you're on the page.
On the authority Abu Muhammad al-Hasan ibn Ali ibn Abu Talib radiallahu anhu, the grandson of the Messenger of Allah, and the one much beloved of him, who I said, I memorized from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as saying, leave that which makes you doubt for that which does not make you doubt.
Yeah, okay. 2 options. Leave what you're in doubt of and take that which you're not in doubt of. I'm faced with 2 options. One is the doubtful issue and one is not a doubtful issue. You go for the ones that you're not in doubt of. Yeah? It's a very simple command. And it's such a blessing because we have been afflicted with wanting to know what the bare minimum is in Islam. And I would just about do that bare minimum. The Prophet ﷺ says, don't do X, Y, Z. So we want to know, but is it haram or is it just makruh or is it just this? Why? The Prophet ﷺ says, don't do X, Y, Z, don't do X, Y, Z. End of story. And this is why the companions were successful. And this is why the companions deserve mention in the Quran. Because when the Prophet ﷺ took his shoes off once in Salah, they automatically took their shoes off. So he said to them, why did you take your shoes off? He said, because we saw you take your shoes off. He said, Jibreel came to me and said, there's an impurity under my shoe. So I took it off while I was praying. But they didn't care. Yeah? They didn't stop and think, well, firstly, does this make sense to me? When it makes sense to me, that's when I'll start following it. Okay, as we hear from some arrogant Muslims in our time. The religion has to be tested by them. Okay. First, let me see what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. What makes sense, I'll follow. Yeah. What doesn't make sense, I won't follow. You're not following anything then. You're deciding for your own self. This is your own religion. Yeah, this is your own religion. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udkhulu fi as-silmi kaffah. O you who believe, enter into Islam wholly, completely. أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضِ. Do you believe in some of the book and disbelieve in another part of it? And this is really essential. Sometimes some parts of the religion might be heavy on our hearts. And this might be normal for some people. Not normal for some people, normal for the majority of people. Yeah? One or two parts of the religion will always be heavy on the hearts. Jihad will always be heavy on men. For example. Okay, constantly spending, the obligatory of constantly spending on your family might be heavy on some men. Okay, the fact that a man is allowed to marry more than one woman is always going to be heavy on women. Always. It has been and it will always continue to be. So there's always parts of the religion that are heavy on some people's hearts. But you have to practice to push yourself through it and discipline your heart and say, look, وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. Maybe you dislike something and it's good for you. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. Maybe you like something and it's not good for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah knows and you don't. So it's a case of disciplining. It doesn't make you a hypocrite automatically. Just because, there's some parts of the religion that might be heavy on someone's heart. Especially if we're brought up in a certain way. For example, now we're brought up in a very secular and liberal environment. And we're used to the idea of doubt. Everyone's free to their own view. Well, we don't have that idea. This idea of everyone is right. And it doesn't matter what you believe. The main thing is that you're good. No, we don't have that in Islam. We don't have that. Yes, there is only one right, and that's Islam. Yeah? And there's one of the scholars, one of these sort of liberal inclined individuals said to him, you claim, he didn't just say Muslim, he says Ahlus Sunnah. You Ahlus Sunnah, you claim, okay, that everyone in the world is wrong except you. He said, Wallahi, everyone is wrong except us. And that was it. That was his response. Yeah, because yes, it might seem as a shock. Wow, you seriously think you're the only one who's right? Not because we made it up, we think we're right. Okay, if you can prove and convince me that this is what Allah wants from us, then I'll believe that. Yeah, more than happy to. But as for coming up with something from yourself and then saying, why is this right and this not right? Because this is from Allah and this is not from Allah. That's why. That's why. And so, like I said, anyways, the point is, a person leaves those things that they're in doubt of and goes for things that are they're comfortable with. Especially in our time, we're never really. Think about the last 5 years. How often have you been put in a situation where you're in dire necessity? It's very rare. It's very rare. Maybe one situation is a bit more awkward than the other. Yeah, or one situation is a bit more comfortable for you than the other. But we're rarely ever in dire need, or necessity, alhamdulillah. And so it's very easy for us to say, forget this. Yeah. Huge fuss is made, for example, by some people, and they'll go out of their way and lose sleep. Are you allowed to eat these certain sweets, Haribo sweets? And they'll question and ask. Is this the end of the world? Your whole life is upside down because of Haribos? Go get some other sweets, subhanAllah. It's not the end of the world. It's not something to worry so much about. And this hadith, alhamdulillah, solves that problem for you. You heard some people say to you, don't eat them. It's najis, it's haram. And others say it's okay, it's not a big problem. Okay, and you're still worried. If you're so worried, leave it then. Go eat something else. Don't eat sweets at all. Okay, even if, let's say that was the only sweet available. What, are you going to die if you don't eat sweets? Eat something else. And so it's essential to distinguish between what's actually a necessity and a need, and what's just, an extra, something that doesn't require attention. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه, hadith number 12. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعنيه. Can you read that for us?
Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, said, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, from the perfection of the religion of a man is that he leaves what concerns him not.
Yes. Okay, from the excellence of your religion is to leave things that don't concern you. Leave things that don't concern you. Whether they don't concern you in this dunya, or they don't concern you in the akhirah. Two things. And that is at the highest level. When you leave things that don't concern you in the akhirah, that's an exceptional state. And that's your ihsan in your inward actions and your outer actions. Anything you say, will this benefit me in the akhirah? No, I don't care about it. Okay, that's a high stage that a person has to aim towards and strive to achieve. But even worldly matters. Worldly matters. And it's really common for people to be nosy about issues. Just wanting to know what people are up to. Just wanting to know what other people are up to. What are you guys talking about? Okay, what are you guys talking about? How often do you see someone walking over? Okay, what are you guys talking about? SubhanAllah. What do you mean, what are you talking about? Two people are talking, leave them alone. If it was that important, it would tell you. Okay, if it concerned you in the first place. And also it's a bit of a belittling of oneself. It's a little lack of self-respect. You imagine you're talking to someone comes along, guys, what are you talking about? You think, what's wrong with you? Yeah. Maybe we don't want to tell you what it's about. Maybe it's a private thing. Maybe, even if it was something useless, still, don't worry. It's not a big deal. Yeah, it's not a big deal. And so this is something to get into the habit of. Things that don't concern you, leave it. Leave it. Yeah.
I was wondering whether you could apply this in different ways in the modern age, because these days we have so much information overload. So we have WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, this and the other, and then sometimes you can become overloaded with things that do not concern you. And then perhaps you can apply this to say, look, what is important is my family, you want to do this, and to do that, and leave the 47 messages that just turned up.
Yes, that's really essential. It's really, think about the number of people who are dying to know whether this rapper got divorced or not. I couldn't care less. Let him be divorced 1,000,000 times. Who cares? Okay, dying to know whether a certain footballer is back with his old girlfriend or not. Okay, or whether such useless things. It's embarrassing to think that you're so desperate to know such a thing. Who cares, subhanAllah? And so it really, and it does have an indicator, and it does indicate what's in the heart. You're that attached to something that's of absolutely no concern. That's quite problematic. Yeah, but we're not saying watching football or being interested in football is haram and so on, or watching the news sometimes, and of course part of the news a lot of the time will be useless and so on. That's one thing. But when your heart is attached to people's lives, especially, I hate this cult of celebrity. Attached, loving celebrity lifestyles, following their lives, what they're doing. Her mum said this to her, and her mum said that, and her sister said this back, and this is what's happening, and they cheated on him, and you have that much spare time that you're thinking about this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's really a poison. Yeah, it makes me want to throw up sometimes. Yeah, I really dislike it because one, it's a waste of time, and two, you're bigging these people up so much, and they're the most worthless of people, and they're being given so much respect and honor, and we care about them so much. Oh, who cares? Who cares about these kinds of individuals? So yes, with news coming in, WhatsApp messages coming in, Facebook posts coming in, we have to distinguish between what's useful, what's not useful. Okay, useless knowledge, get out of the way. I don't care what happened. Yeah, not interested. Let's find things that are useful. الحديث الثالث عشر, the 13th hadith. عن أبي حمزة أنس رضي الله عنه خادم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. Yes, next. Read it for us, please.
Abu Hamza Anas bin Malik, son of Allah,
said none of you truly believes unless he loves for his brother what he loves for himself.
Okay. This hadith in the Sahihain, in the Bukhari and in Muslim. And the hadith which is narrated in both Al-Bukhari, Sahih Al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim is from the highest levels of authenticity. It's as authentic as a hadith can be. And this narrator radiallahu an, Anas ibn Malik, was he one of the 4 Imams? We have the madhab of Abu Hanifa and Malik and Shafi'i and Ahmad. So Anas ibn Malik is he one of the 4 Imams? No. Who's one of the 4 Imams? What's his name? Malik ibn Anas. Yeah, the other way around. Lots of people get confused with this. And someone said the other time, if Anas ibn Malik is a companion, then surely the madhab of Malik should be the most authentic madhab. Because he's a companion. That's a different person. Anas ibn Malik is a companion. The Imam you're talking about is Malik ibn Anas. Yeah, Malik ibn Anas. Malik ibn Anas. So the name of the person and the father are flipped around. This is Anas ibn Malik, who's a companion and the servant of the Prophet ﷺ, and lived for over 100 years. Over 100 years he lived, radiallahu anhu. And you have Malik ibn Anas, who's the Imam of Ahl al-Madinah. He was born in 93 years after Hijrah, Malik. Anas died in 93 after Hijrah. So the year Anas passed away, radiallahu anhu, Malik ibn Anas was born. Okay, so that's one way of remembering and not confusing yourself between the two. None of you shall believe until they wish for their brother what they wish for themselves. Whatever they wish for themselves, they also wish for their Muslim brother or sister. And this is again from the levels of ihsan. If a person reaches it, a person needs to wish for their brother what they wish for themselves. And it's not as difficult as we might imagine, because all you're wanting is for that person to have the best and you to also have the best. We're not saying sacrifice one of you two. Yeah, we're not saying it's one, you or him. Yeah, that's not the point here. So some people think, oh, that's impossible. Yeah, that's impossible. It's not quite impossible, because all you're saying here, I want lots of good for myself. In fact, all the good I want for myself and for you as well. Yeah, for you as well. So this is the point. Here's the point. It's not a case of one of you two, and you're going to choose them over yourself every time. That's very difficult. That's very difficult. Yeah. How many people are going to say, I'll die instead of any other Muslim in the world? I don't think anyone in the world would say that. Yeah. I don't think anyone in the world would say, kill me instead of any one Muslim in the world. That's highly unlikely. Yeah. But the point is, of course, certain people, you're happy to do that. Maybe your mother or your child and so on. But not every Muslim. Yeah. That's a difficult thing to ask for. Yeah. But what's being asked here and what's being commanded here is that you love for your brother and your sister what you want for yourself. Yeah. Without it diminishing from you. I want to be rich, I want you to be rich also. The problem is wanting it for yourself and not wanting it for others. I don't want it for you. And in fact, I feel upset when I see that you're happy and you're successful and this has happened to you. No, that's no good. That's no good. If they have something better than you, you can ask Allah to have a similar blessing. But not for it to be taken away from you. That's haram. It's a major sin, in fact. You wish for someone's good to be taken away from you. And I want it instead. And even worse than that, you already have some good, but still you don't want them to have it as well. That's a poison in the heart. And it's a sin, in fact, to have such a feeling in your heart. I don't want you to be successful. I don't want you to be happy. I don't want you to be rich. I don't want you... Yeah, this is a problem. Okay, so is that clear? Are we distinguishing between sacrificing? We're not saying sacrifice. Okay, of course, sacrificing is better. We're not saying don't do it. But we're talking about the bare minimum mentioned in this hadith. Yeah, and Allah recommends and praises those who give to others even if they're in need. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصًا. Even when they're in need, they still give themselves up, let themselves suffer a bit for the sake of their brothers and sisters. Okay, so that's a higher level. But the bare minimum mentioned in this hadith that we're talking about is that the good that you want for yourself, you want for another person. Yeah? You want for another person as well. Yeah? For example, you find a job offers at a certain company. Okay, you want to work for this company, and you're given a job offer. Why don't you want that for this person as well? You will work for them, he works for them as well. Yeah, there's no issue. Yes?
How do you respond to someone who says, sometimes in the Quran and Sunnah, he refers to more masculine thing like love for your brother, not love for your sister, but when you refer to your sister as well?
Or all of them. Yeah, the principle of the scholars is any ruling and any command applies to men and women. Any ruling and any command applies to men and women. Why are the men addressed most? One, because the asl in Arabic language is the masculine form. That's the asl. And that's why Allah is referred to as huwa. Not because Allah is male. Okay, in the meaning that we know. Okay, not in terms of a human form male that we understand. As though there's a male and a female version. That's not the point. Yeah, the word is in masculine. As for this, it's either that in many ahadith and verses, or it's a simple fact that those who were closest to the Prophet ﷺ at the time were men. Yeah, was the men, and they were expected to then convey the message to their families. Okay, the men were around the Prophet ﷺ more than the women, and so they're the ones addressed more. Okay, but the rulings apply to both men and women. Yeah, rulings apply to both men and women. The 14th hadith. عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يحل دم امرئ مسلم إلا بإحدى ثلاث الثيب الزاني والنفس بالنفس والتارك لدينه المفارق للجماعة. Okay, Nawaz, can you read it first?
Abdullah ibn Mas'ud narrated that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, the blood of a Muslim may not be legally split other than in one of three instances. The first, the married person who commits adultery. The second, a life for a life. And the third, and one who forsakes his religion and abandons the community.
Okay. رواه البخاري ومسلم. Narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. So, now we have the first hadith of Ibn Umar, which is hadith number 8. أمرت أن أقاتل الناس حتى يشهدوا أن لا إله إلا الله. When they bear witness, لا إله إلا الله, and Muhammad رسول الله, ويقيموا الصلاة, they establish the salah, ويؤتوا الزكاة, عصموا مني دماءهم وأموالهم. Yeah. Meaning the blood and the wealth of a Muslim is haram for anyone to take. The blood of a Muslim and the wealth of a Muslim is haram. The moment a person says, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله, their wealth and life is haram automatically. Yeah, automatically. That doesn't mean that anyone who doesn't say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, their blood and wealth is halal. No. Okay. In certain situations, yes. And that's a separate issue. Okay. But as a norm like that, no. That's not the case. But the focus here is the Muslims. The focus here is the Muslim. Their blood and wealth is haram. So long as they've said La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. You don't turn around and say, well, you know what, I don't believe you're a true Muslim. Bang. Okay? Or I don't believe you're a true Muslim. Take their wealth. Only a hypocrite does such a thing. Playing with the religion in order to benefit themselves. Yeah? It's a chance to take people's wealth. Okay? Take people's property and so on. And we can, use the excuse of they're no longer Muslims. They're not believers. Just like what your big countries do. Kill people and rob people. And then use the excuse of they're terrorists. Or they're a threat to national security, or a threat to whatever else. Yeah? So you're doing the exact same thing. You're doing the exact same thing. The only difference is you're using the religion to cover up your lies. Yeah, of course, this is more of a political issue rather than an individual one. But the point is there for understanding. Yeah? This hadith says the blood of a Muslim is haram, except for three. And these are three big ones. Doesn't mean that there's no other one. Three big ones. الثيب الزاني. Okay, the married person who commits adultery. The married person who commits adultery with the conditions in place. Remember, any killing in the Sharia, any punishment, okay, any capital punishment, any taking off of hands, any lashing, anything like that, never, ever, ever is down to individuals. Never. It's always down to your ruler. Always. Let's say you have seen, you're watching a person steal, rob from another person's house. You're watching them do it. You say, there's no way, okay, this didn't happen. I've seen it happen. Okay, come here, bang, hands off. It's nothing to do with you. This is not your responsibility. Yeah, if you're upset, go tell the judge, go tell whoever's in charge, and they'll deal with the situation. Okay. If Islamic law is in place, then that might be the punishment. If the conditions are fulfilled. If there's no Islamic law in place, then that punishment is not going to apply. You can't come and apply it and say, well, David Cameron's not going to do anything about it. I'm going to take this into my own hands. No, it's not your responsibility anyway. Let's say you are a judge. Okay, you are a judge in your own country or whatever else, an Islamic judge. So you say, well, I'm a judge. Okay, the conditions are fulfilled. I'm going to apply the ruling. No. Okay, no. You haven't been asked to take care of this case. Okay, the leader of the land has not asked you to take care of the case. So it's nothing to do with you. So imagine if a scholar and a judge can't take this into his own hands. What about, your average Joe on the street, or Muslim in this case, on the street says, I want to take it into my own hands. No. None of this applies to individuals. It's purely political, legal. It's got nothing to do with us. You want to report it, report. As for punishing yourself, no. And subhanallah, the punishment of murder is not as severe as the punishment of adultery, which shows us the danger of and the evil of zina. The evils of zina. And the one who, maybe different people will have their own experiences in different aspects of life, but those who have dealt with cases of zina and adultery realize how much of a disaster and a problem it can bring a family and a community and the society as a whole. It's absolutely disastrous. And the consequences are incredible. The consequences are incredible. And so we shouldn't be surprised. The one who knows the reality won't be surprised that a person who's committed adultery is stoned to death. Imagine that. They're alive and you're having a stone thrown at them, and thrown and thrown and thrown and thrown and thrown until they die. That's a severe punishment. Only second to the most severe punishment in Islam. And you'll get the pleasure of that later, inshallah. Yeah? But it's a severe punishment. Yeah? It's an extremely harsh punishment. But wallahi, if we were to know all of the consequences of zina, alhamdulillah, we would not hesitate a single bit. Okay? Would not hesitate a single bit. Especially someone who's married, especially someone who has children, especially someone... It can be a real disaster. It can be a huge disaster. It's not something to think lightly of. I know we're in a society where this is taken lightly. Wallahu ahkamul hakimin. Allah is the most just and wise of judges. When He gives something and rules something that might seem as harsh to us, then that is the perfect punishment. No more and no less. And we shouldn't doubt that single bit. Shouldn't doubt that single bit. Because Islam is not like other systems. They teach you immorality, and they encourage fornication, and they encourage evil behavior, and they encourage attachment to the dunya. Then when it comes to people committing crimes, okay, they have their own certain punishments. Islam isn't like that. Islam encourages moral behavior, moral actions, iman, taqwa, good character, remember the akhirah, belittle the dunya, and so on. And along with that package come these punishments. It's a whole system. It's a whole system. You don't leave out the moral teachings and then just use these capital punishments and whatever else. Your system's not going to work like that. In fact, if anything, it'll be worse. Yeah, 100 times worse. Islam hasn't come with just this. Yeah, Islam is a whole package. And if that whole package is put into place, I've heard on numerous accounts, and I've heard that these are authentic accounts, that for hundreds of years, only 6 people in the Islamic Khilafah had their hands cut off. I don't know how authentic that is, but that's astonishing if that's true. Let's say 100 people. That itself is astonishing. Yeah, it's astonishing. Why? Because it comes with a package. It's not just you steal, get your hand cut off, that's it. Yeah, Stealing Act 2015. Steal, get your hand cut off, that's it. Next act. No. Yeah, everything is being taught. Islam is being taught as a whole. Constantly attached to Allah with your salah. Okay, constantly in congregation. Constantly inside the masjid. Okay, constantly remembering Allah. Reciting the Quran and so on and so on. Yeah, now it's very unlikely for such a thing to happen. Because we've already trained the society and the community. If these things happen, then certain punishments are. The point is, that's the first punishment. وَالنَّفْسُ بِالنَّفْسِ is murder, essentially. Yeah? Assault with assault, meaning a person murders. Of course, zina again has conditions. The punishment for zina has conditions. It's not just a case of this has happened, there you go. No. And the scholars of today don't consider the use of, even though this is a side topic, not relevant, they don't consider the use of CCTV to be a valid evidence. Okay? It doesn't take the place of 4 witnesses. Why? Because we see now how computers can be played with so easily. Okay, and those who are into the IT know it very well. Yes, something can look real, unbelievably real. You won't question it. But it's been hampered with and played with. Not hampered, tampered with and played with. Yeah. And so that's not a sufficient use of... it can be used as an extra proof in the court. That's a separate point. Anyways, again, I don't like going to these points because they're not relevant to daily... Yeah.
So what's the method of punishment for life for life?
There are 2 opinions. One is that the person is killed the way they killed. You shot a person in the head, you get shot in the head. And Abu Hanifa and Ahmad rahimahumullah say they're killed with the sword every time. Regardless of how they killed another person, they're killed with a sword. Why? They say because you might end up hurting them more than they hurt the other person. Yeah? Let's say, for example, you chucked a rock at someone and killed them. So we say, stand here, we're going to chuck a rock at you. Bang. Oh, he's not dead yet. Bang. Oh, he's not dead yet. Bang. He's not dead yet. Yeah, and so it's not proportional to what the person's done. Again, like we said, these are... it's a difference of opinion between the scholars. Essentially, it's down to the judge, what he sees fit. But generally, it's one punishment, with a killing with a knife, a sword.
What if it's the other way?
What do you mean?
The perpetrator just tortured the guy for 10 hours, but then with the sword it's instant.
Yeah, regardless. Because the point is here that they're to be killed with a sword. And of course, if the judge says, yes, that is usually the punishment is with the sword, but this person was so evil, he's going to get this as a punishment, then the judge can decide that. Okay. And the final one is التارك لدينه المفارق للجماعة. And there are 2 opinions on what this means. التارك لدينه, the one who leaves his religion and leaves the jama'ah. Some scholars say it's simply the one who leaves Islam. Anyone who leaves Islam, then that's the punishment, leaving Islam. Why? They say because one of the biggest corrupters of religion is that you see, or that you allow people to roam into and out of the religion freely. Yeah, one moment I'm a believer, one moment I'm not. Yeah, actually I'm a Muslim now, actually I'm not a Muslim, and so on. And if this was left as a game, enter Islam, leave Islam, enter Islam, leave Islam, then yes, one person suffers, but at the very least the whole community doesn't suffer. Because at the end of the day, and we know this, that Islam is here to save us in the akhirah. This dunya is only a path to it. So now if we're stopping people from playing with the religion, imagine it was fine for people to enter and leave Islam freely. What's the first trap of hypocrites? The whole tribe will enter Islam, and then the whole tribe will make an announcement and say, actually guys, look, Islam is this. We've tried it, okay, we've tried being Muslim, and we've seen now that it's a terrible religion, that they're so evil and so on, all of us are leaving Islam again. They didn't want into Islam in the first place. Okay, but they'll pretend, and you must have seen it on YouTube. Hey guys, I've been a Muslim for 10 years, and my family's been Muslim for 50 years. I saw one on YouTube where this guy says, my father was so pious, he went to Hajj 3 times a year. And he went, and he's going on and on and on. What's the aim of these videos? These people, I don't believe they're Muslims. They never were Muslims. What's the aim of the video? The aim is to put people off Islam. Do you want to open the door for... Yeah, is that clear? So the aim is dangerous. So imagine now people with weak hearts constantly having their religion played with, their hearts played with, and their akhirah at stake. Ask a single person, would we rather, Jazakallah khair, pass it around, I'm not going to be able to eat. Would we rather save one person from the akhirah or save 10 people in this dunya? Which is better? Save one person from the akhirah. One person is being saved from the fire of hell. Or 10 people are being saved from punishment in this life, but they're going to be successful in the akhirah. Which one? The one person. The akhirah is an eternal thing. It's an eternal thing. Okay? Yeah, I don't mind if one person is safe in the akhirah and hundreds of people die, but they're successful in the akhirah. So what? This dunya is nothing anyway. So what if they die? Okay, as brutal as that sounds, it's a reality. If you look at it from a logical perspective only, that's the case, isn't it? The akhirah is far more important than this life. So this is the reasoning behind it. Yes, one person is punished, but how many people are protected and saved? Their religion is protected, especially in a time like ours, where everyone has the freedom to speak and shout and claim and say and so on. People's hearts are constantly being shaken. Every time a person watches a video, oh my God, I'm not sure anymore about Islam anymore. Okay, watch something else. Oh, actually, I believe this now. Watch something else. Oh, actually, I believe this now. Yeah, hearts are constantly twisting and turning. It's a big disaster. Yeah, so we're putting an end to this by resting people, keeping them firm, not allowing these kinds of games to be played with people's minds, especially those who are uneducated and those whose hearts are weak. Okay, and this is the reasoning behind it. If we couldn't find a reasoning to it, it's enough that Allah commanded it. Yeah, because Allah, and this is a principle we have to learn. Guys, is there wisdom behind every ruling in Islam? Wallahi, there's wisdom behind every ruling in Islam. And every ruling in Islam is there to benefit us in this life and the next life. Every ruling, every teaching in Islam. However, some of those rulings we are aware of, and some of them we're not aware of. And everything becomes clear in the akhirah. How many times have we thought, you know what, this thing doesn't make sense? Someone explains it to you, you think, now it makes sense. How many times has that occurred? Lots of times. Okay? Those who maybe teach, okay, or you do tuition, you know this very well. Sir, this doesn't make sense. No, just this. Okay, it makes sense. Okay. Why did you automatically jump and say it doesn't make sense? Why didn't you say, I don't understand it? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, criticizing the question, criticizing the point. Why? You're the one who doesn't understand it. When it's explained, it will make sense. Perfectly fine. Same thing here. Yes, certain teachings in Islam outwardly seem difficult. We don't say they don't make sense. No, we say, I don't get it. Okay. It seems, surprising to me and so on. Okay, so if a 5-year-old said, no, this algebra doesn't make sense. So, we're going to change algebra because of this 5-year-old? No. Same thing, we're going to change Allah's rule because of a human being? A human being who's deficient and weak in their mind, lacking in experience, lacking in knowledge. We're going to change Allah, the Creator's rule, and His teachings just because of this one person? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so anyways, alhamdulillah, there is reasoning for this point, and one of those wisdoms is not allowing the religion to be turned into a game. Enter, leave. You're a Muslim, you're not a Muslim, and so on. No. Okay, and so this is the third point. Other scholars say it's the one who attacks and fights against the Muslims. Yeah? And same thing, such a person is fought as well. When should we stop? Shall we take the final hadith, 15, and we'll end it there? Okay, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. ومن كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليكرم جاره. ومن كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليكرم ضيفه. رواه البخاري ومسلم. Yes, Bilal, read it for us.
The authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, who said, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, anybody who believes in Allah and the last day should talk what is good or keep quiet, i.e. abstain from all kinds of evil and dirty talk. And anybody who believes in Allah and the last day should entertain his guests generously, and anybody who believes in Allah and the last day should be kind to his neighbor.
Okay.
Sponsored by Al-Bukhari.
Simple hadith, okay? The second two parts are clear. Be generous with your guests and be good to your neighbor. And we can go on for ages. The point is, these hadith are clear. من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. See how the Prophet ﷺ here gave two options: good or silence. Good or silence. What's in between things that aren't good? Okay, things that aren't good, then that's definitely something you don't say. Then there are things that are not bad and they're not good either. Okay, and these things, the more you minimize, the better. The more you minimize, the better. And you'll see how it has an impact on your wisdom and intellect and piety when you lessen and reduce from your speech. Yeah. The more you talk, the more errors you make. And subhanAllah, Malik ibn Anas rahimahullah, when asked sometimes, why didn't you accept this narration or knowledge from such a person? It's because he talks too much. He talks too much. وَمَنْ كَثُرَ كَلَامُهُ كَثُرَ غَلَطُهُ. And whoever talks too much, whoever's words become too much, their mistakes become too much. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, if you're having a conversation for 2 hours, I challenge you to find me to find me 2 hours of constant speech that is not the remembrance of Allah and that's not knowledge, not something useful, but mubah. Let's say mubah. Words that are not bad and not good. 2 hours of that, I challenge you to find me 2 hours of that without sin being said. It's all close, near enough impossible. Somewhere along those lines there's going to be backbiting or slandering or mocking or using a foul language, or there's going to be talking, giving away of secrets, okay, or any sort of thing. Some sin will be involved most of the time. Yeah? And the more you do, the more sins you'll commit. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, who was promised Jannah, and he was the best person after the prophets, was seen once holding his tongue saying, this has got me into trouble. This thing has got me into trouble. Abu Bakr. He's worried about the things that he's saying. So what about ourselves? We need to be extra careful with what we say. And this is why the first step, this is why you have to practice silence as much as possible. Silence is your initial position. Silence is what our state should be. Not speech. Not speech. Silence is what we should be. If we have something positive to say, or it's time to say something good, then you think, then you speak. Otherwise, it's a case of silence. Not speak. Okay, I should be silent now. No, be silent first. Then, if it's time to speak, you speak. It's an amazing attribute. It's an amazing attribute. And what Luqman al-Hakim was asked, what was it that made you reach such high levels of wisdom and understanding? He said 3 things: leaving things that don't concern me, and minimizing my speech, and fulfilling the trusts. Yeah? Minimizing speech, not speaking much. And 2 is leaving things that don't concern me. When someone was asked about Al-Bukhari rahimahullah, what were the things that stood out about him? He said 3 things. Constantly silent. Again. Leaving what doesn't concern him. Again. And constant looking into knowledge. Constant spending time with knowledge. So see how these 2 things recurred again. Leaving what doesn't concern you and silence. Who has studied knowledge without passing through al-Bukhari? Who doesn't know al-Bukhari? Rahimahullah. We know Imam al-Bukhari more than we know most companions. Okay, and yet he was known for being silent, for constantly not speaking much. Yeah, which means that the loudmouth isn't necessarily the one who's remembered. The one who talks more isn't necessarily the more knowledgeable one. It's such an amazing attribute, and it's one that has to be practiced. Sometimes we think, no, I've got something good to say. Look, practice being silent. Practice being silent. It's really important. Once we practice it, and it becomes part of our nature, we'll see how we make very few mistakes with the things that we say. Rarely do we regret what we say. And in the other hadith, narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تتكلم بكلام تعتذر منه غدا. Don't speak with words that you will require an apology for tomorrow. Yeah. Don't speak with words that you will require an apology for tomorrow. And this hadith is authenticated by some scholars of hadith. Don't speak with words that you will require an apology for tomorrow. Or don't speak with words that you will regret tomorrow. Tomorrow either being in this life, because you need to go to, sorry, I didn't mean what I said. Yeah, I was just, in the heat of the moment. Or, I was just joking, or etc. That tomorrow, or tomorrow in the akhirah, when Allah asks you, why did you say this? Why did you say this? Why did you say this? And you'll need an apology or an excuse. So a person has to think to themselves always, am I going to apologize? Will I regret what I'm about to say? No. Bismillah. Off you go. Yeah, the more we practice silence, the better. Or I'll end with this story of a judge who says, Wallahi, for 40 years, I haven't said a single word except that I've prepared for it an answer on the Day of Judgment. 40 years. I don't say a single word until I've prepared an answer for it on the Day of Judgment. Okay. And of course, we might think, well, that's taking a bit long. Someone asks you a question, you're thinking that, okay, if Allah asks me about some of the Day of Judgment, what am I going to say? The point is, when it becomes a habit, it happens in an instant, doesn't it? Yeah? It becomes automatic, second nature. It's second nature. You only say things that you know are sound. No dodgy things or mistakes. So 40 years, he says, I don't say a single word until I've prepared for it an answer on the Day of Judgment. I know what I'm about to say. When Allah asks me about it, I'll have an excuse. And this is the reason why I said it. Yeah, that's an amazing position to reach. 40 years. Because doing it once or twice is easy. We can all do that. But consistency for 40 years, speaking only what's good, that is astonishing. It's astonishing. And it comes with practice and training and training and training and dua and sincerity. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. You need to cut out the pig part and those other parts. I don't know whether you can. You can, yeah? Okay. If you do that, that'll be good. And this part where I told you to do that. Anyway, so that was hadith number 15. Like I said,